Okay, hi, I'm April Battles. My business name is Holistic Horseworks. That's my website. You can also find me on YouTube under Holistic Horseworks. I develop my own yoga for horses that is a osteopathic form of opening and invigorating and endorphining and just opening your whole horse's body, but it is a diagnostic tool. If your horse cannot do the yoga well, then you need to seek professional help. If you are on dial-up and you can't get it free on YouTube, I do have it on DVD. Okay, there's Horses for Headaches and an Equine Bodywork DVD too. We can go more into that later. Basically, I started these clinics because there's too many horses going to slaughter yards, free horse rescue places. They're being retired at ages 12 through 20, and if they live and eat till they're 30, they should be rideable till they're 30. Okay, that's my goal. If we can diagnose some of these issues ahead of time and prevent them, okay, your horse can keep going. The only thing that's taken our horses down is arthritic hocks and stifles. Side bone, ring bone, they're all calcifications. Anytime you have heat and loading in a body that's an overload, you are going to develop calcifications because the body sends calcium to heat to lock it down. Arthritic hocks, arthritic stifles, injecting joints. Can we prevent all this? That's what this clinic's all about. Okay, so we're going to start talking about the whole horse, how the whole horse should be able to move. For a horse to be able to move correctly under saddle and not compensate, you need to have a neck that telescopes out of the neck. Your scapula and shoulders need to come out, your withers need to lift, your ribs need to lift, and your pelvis needs to move independently. If one thing can't do its job, 3 to 5 other things are going to be compensating. So you have all your neck bones, your shoulder, your muscles. The horse has 205 bones and 700 muscles. So if one of those isn't doing its job, there's a lot that's compensating. Okay, everybody know about your 7 neck bones? Okay, no? Yes? Okay, your atlas and your axis are the first 2, and they're the ones that take the major torque when a horse sits down and pulls. There's a lot of damage from one sit-down pullback that is not addressed. Some professionals will say the horse is fine. I disagree. There's a lot of damage done to a nuchal ligament attachment at the base of the skull. Your horse will never be able to flex freely at the pole and correctly to get on the bit unless you address that damage. I'd say 90% of the horses out there in training have sat down and pulled back once. Okay, if you're going to teach a horse to tie, please don't use a knotted rope halters. They do not give. They are a thinner rope, and they do more damage when they sit down and pull. That's a rope for cliffs to hang by. It's a non-breaking rope. So try to have some kind of bungee, stretchy thing in there, and just use it as a training tool that they are designed to be. That knot that comes out on here hits a huge ganglia of nerve, and that's why it's a good training tool. But don't leave them tied overnight. Don't leave them tied unsupervised. Okay, you've got 7 neck bones that need to move, and with this one sit-down pullback and these getting out of alignment and wrenching and tearing muscles up in here, losing all your flexion at the pole, if the horse is not comfortable to come onto the bit, they're going to shirk down with their neck. Your horse is going to start to develop a short neck, and they're going to start to get heavy on the fore. If it hurts here and you've got something pulling here, you're going to go down like this. A horse heavy on the fore is then sometimes put into training aids, running martingales, a different bits with the shank, something to pick up the horse off a heavy front end. Okay? If this body part cannot do its job correctly and it's locking down into here, they're going to borrow all the way back from here. Okay, all of these ribs are going to get tight, and all of this hind end is going to get sore. You've seen the horses that are developing a U-neck? Okay, they're pulling with these muscles down to the pectoral muscles, to your abdominal obliques, all the way up here to the groin. If you see a U-necked horse, you're going to have this dip because they're not using the rhomboids and trapezius to lift the front end. They're pulling all the way through here to a groin, and you're going to see them exhibit this kind of posture with my feet out in the pasture. Okay, if your horse is to have a hind end to come back to collect and use, your hip, your hock, and your feet should all be in alignment. Your hock should be pointing backwards, and your sacrum should be open to have a hind end to come back to use. Is that making sense? Okay, so you've got your 7 neck bones. These don't actually come out of alignment, but the muscles can go so tight and into spasm that they don't allow them to move. Okay, that's your heavy-necked, U-necked horses. All this is coming down, the bones are closer. You're developing heat and calcification, so you'll hear of some older horses with arthritis in the neck. Okay, they get stiff, they can't turn this way, you have no lateral flexion. Okay, all this is just squunched down into here. So when we evaluate horses later, we're going to talk about conformation versus posture. Conformation's what you're born with. This horse is developing posture. Okay, if you hurt, everyone knows a muscle in spasm shortens, right? Overworked in the garden, your back goes eep, and you wake up the next day and you're walking like this until you take some ibuprofen, you work it out. Okay, our horses don't always have that opportunity. They can overwork doing something for us one day because horses work from the heart. And if they're a really expensive horse and they're put in a really tall, tiny, small box, then they can't move it. They can't run. They can't roll. They can't work out that knot. So then they have a tight compensation, but then they have to go to work the next day and they're going to borrow from something else. Okay, if you see these people that walk around in pain, they're like this. Okay, if you do yoga and you stretch and you're using everything, this starts to come like this and you're walking like this. So which horse do you think is going to last longer? The one that's going like this or the one that's going like this? You know, why do some horses, people are riding them till they're 28 and some are done at 12? Okay, if nothing in the front end can do its job correctly, you will be, if you're in any kind of competition, injecting hocks by the time they're 12 or 14. That needs to stop. You need to start looking into preventative. Okay, you've got your 7 neck bones that need to be able to work and flex and telescope, okay, without tight spasmy muscles. So muscle and spasm, understand that you are not getting oxygen and blood flow and nutrients. So giving them 2 weeks or 3 months off does not make it better. Okay, it's tight, it's in spasm, they can't do anything about it. You need to open it and stretch it, encourage circulation. If you don't have them worked on, it's not going to happen by themselves. Okay.